A female alien commander named Zara from the powerful Kralix Empire arrives on Earth as part of an invasion fleet, but her ship crashes in a rural American town, where she meets Emma, a young mechanic who finds her injured in the woods. Instead of killing the alien or calling authorities, Emma takes Zara to her garage and treats her wounds despite the language barrier and completely different biology. Zara has been trained since birth to see all other species as inferior, and humans as particularly weak and emotional beings. But as Emma helps her recover, Zara witnesses something that challenges everything. She knows Emma's younger brother has a severe illness, and Emma works 3 jobs to pay for his treatment, never complaining, and always staying positive even when exhausted. The Kralix fleet begins its attack on Earth, and Zara must return to her people, but she cannot forget Emma's kindness and strength. When Zara learns that the invasion will kill billions of humans, including Emma and her brother, she faces an impossible choice between her duty to the Empire and the confusing new feelings she has developed. Zara makes a decision that shocks both species. She sabotages the main invasion ship's weapon systems and helps Emma reach a communication center to warn Earth's defenses. Her fellow Kralix see this as the ultimate betrayal and hunt her as a traitor, while humans are suspicious of her motives, thinking it might be a trick. Emma and Zara go on the run together, trying to reach a neutral space station where Zara can testify about the Empire's plans. During their journey, Zara learns more about human emotions, loyalty, and something her species has no word for: love. She realizes that humans are not weak because they feel emotions, but strong because they choose to care for others, despite knowing they will eventually lose them. The story climaxes when Kralix assassins corner them at the space station, and Zara must fight her former comrades to protect Emma. In the battle, Zara is mortally wounded but manages to transmit the invasion plans to Earth's defense forces as she lies dying. Emma holds her hand, and Zara finally understands what humans mean by home. It is not a place, but a person who makes you want to be better. Earth's forces use Zara's information to repel the invasion, and Emma ensures that Zara is remembered not as an alien invader, but as the warrior who chose compassion over conquest. The story ends with Emma visiting a memorial statue of Zara holding her brother's new baby and telling the child about the alien who taught humanity that courage comes in many forms. Outline 2. The Last Harvest. An alien agricultural scientist named Lyra from the desert planet Eridax comes to Earth as part of a desperate research mission. Her entire species is dying because their planet can no longer grow food, and they have only months before complete starvation. She has been sent to study Earth's incredible biodiversity, and if necessary, take samples by force. Lyra's ship lands near a family farm in the Midwest owned by Kate, a third-generation farmer who is struggling to keep her land after years of drought and corporate pressure. When Lyra appears asking for help, Kate is terrified, but also curious about the strange woman who seems to know everything about plants, yet nothing about people. Kate agrees to help Lyra study Earth's crops in exchange for advanced alien technology that could save her farm. But as they work together, Lyra begins to understand something her purely scientific education never taught her: that growing food is not just about biology and chemistry, but about patience, hope, and connection to the land. Lyra's superiors demand she return immediately with genetic samples and the technology to replicate Earth's ecosystem. But Lyra hesitates because she has learned that Kate's farm uses heirloom seeds passed down through generations, and taking them would destroy something irreplaceable. She realizes that her people made their planet die by treating it as a resource instead of a partner. When Lyra's ship returns to collect her, the captain threatens to take the samples by force and eliminate any witnesses, including Kate and her family. Lyra refuses, orders and fights against her own people to protect the farm, using her knowledge of their technology to disable their weapons. Kate and Lyra work together to develop a compromise, using Kate's sustainable farming methods combined with Lyra's advanced science. They create a plan that could save Eridax without stealing from Earth. But it requires Lyra to return home and convince her people to completely change their relationship with nature. Lyra leaves Earth knowing she might be executed for disobeying orders, but Kate gives her a gift: a small sealed container with seeds from every plant on the farm, and a handwritten journal explaining not just how to grow them, but why each plant matters to the land and the people. The story ends years later when Kate receives a transmission from Eridax showing green fields growing under alien suns, and Lyra, now an old woman, standing in a garden that looks remarkably like Kate's farm. The message says that Eridax calls their new agricultural method the human way because it taught them that the strongest species is not the one that takes what it needs, but the one that gives what it can spare. Outline 3. The price of peace. Ambassador Vix from the telepathic Mindari Collective arrives on Earth for crucial peace negotiations after decades of Cold War between species. The Mindari can read surface thoughts and consider verbal communication primitive and dishonest. Making humans deeply uncomfortable around them, Vix is assigned a human liaison, named Claire. A former soldier who lost her hearing in the war and uses sign language, Claire was chosen specifically because her inability to hear makes the Mindari's telepathy less invasive, and because military leadership thinks her disability makes her expendable if negotiations fail. Initially, Vix is frustrated by Claire because she cannot read sign language telepathically, only the thoughts behind the gestures, which are often different from the signs themselves. Claire thinks in images and emotions rather than words, which confuses Vix, who is used to orderly linear thinking. As they work together preparing for the summit, Vix begins to appreciate how Claire's mind works without sound. Claire experiences the world through vibration, sight and touch in ways that are richer and more complex than Vix expected. Vix realizes that the Mindari's telepathy made them lazy, assuming they understood everything when they only understood the surface. The peace summit is sabotaged by extremists from both species who want the war to continue, and Vix is injured by a weapon that damages her telepathic abilities, leaving her unable to communicate with her own people. She is trapped in silence for the first time in her life and experiences the terror and isolation she always assumed Claire felt. Claire takes care of Vix during her recovery and teaches her sign language and lip reading. But more importantly, she teaches Vix that communication is not about perfectly transferring information from one mind to another, but about the effort to understand and be understood. The mistakes and clarifications are not bugs, but features. Vix discovers that the weapon used against her was designed by a Mindari scientist who feared that peace would make their telepathic abilities obsolete, and the human extremists were funded by corporations profiting from the war. Vix and Claire work together to expose the conspiracy, using Claire's investigative skills and Vix's remaining telepathic sense to detect lies. During the final confrontation, Vix must choose between accepting a treatment that would restore her telepathy but erase her memories of learning sign language and being silent, or keeping her new abilities and remaining partially disconnected from her people. She chooses to keep the memories because they taught her something the Mindari had forgotten, that true communication requires vulnerability. The peace treaty is signed, and Vix returns to the Mindari Collective as a changed ambassador. She teaches her people sign language not to replace telepathy, but to remind them that understanding requires effort and patience. Claire visits Vix on the Mindari homeworld, and they establish the first school for interspecies communication, where students learn that the strongest bonds are formed not through perfect understanding, but through the choice to keep trying. The story ends with Vix and Claire sitting in silence watching two suns set over an alien landscape, neither needing words or thoughts to communicate the peace they have built together, proving that connection transcends biology, language, and even the ability to hear or read minds when two beings are willing to meet each other halfway.